It's time for a little comedy, a little content, and a lot of conversation. It's the Gino Jones Show, exclusively right here on YouTube. And now here's your host, Gino Jones.
Hey, it's showtime. What's happening, everybody? Bam! The Gino Jones Show. I come to you live. Now, Monday through Friday, those are the normal days. I'm not on 2 days a week. I'm on 5 days a week. However, there's some occasions. Now, if I'm on a vacation, that's one thing. It's hockey season here. We have a minor league hockey team, the South Carolina Stingrays. They are playing tomorrow, game 5. They are up 3-1. If they win tomorrow, they move on to the next round. And I am the hype man inside the arena for the South Carolina Stingrays. Let's go Rays! So no live show on tomorrow for everybody watching me live. Friday, or Fridays, I like to call it. So, but we're live. It's Thursday, April 30th. The last day of April, tomorrow, May 1st, May Day. May Day, no shopping, no school, no work, no school, no shopping. May Day, no work, no school, no shopping. Now, I know some folks, they got crazy bosses. They can't afford, they don't have time, but that's the goal. Send a message. A lot of the people who organized the No Kings rally, I've been saying this for a while. The way to get people's attention with money and power is to dig in them pockets. All right? No work, no school, no shopping. That means I got to go buy some gas tonight. Oh, by the way, how those gas prices working out for you? You MAGA cult members and all those that voted for this madness, this regime, and then like the 90 million that didn't vote, there was, the contrarians, which I got something for you all, you contrarians. Well, and this woman, and y'all be complaining about Trump and blah, blah, blah. Yeah, don't worry. Oh, it's going to be a fun monologue. Well, I got something for a lot of you all. So, Monday through Friday, my normal day, 7:30 p.m. Eastern, 6:30 Central Time. Hello, Chicago. Stand up, I see you. Central Time, everybody from Minneapolis to Milwaukee to Memphis, Tennessee, Jackson, Mississippi, Little Rock, Arkansas, Houston, Dallas, Texas, stand up. New Orleans, Birmingham, Alabama. Live in Los Angeles and Las Vegas, Portland, Oregon. Everybody on the West Coast from the Bay Area all the way down to San Diego and up to Seattle, 4:30 in the afternoon. Like, share, and subscribe. Tell everybody, like, share, and subscribe to the Gino Jones Show YouTube channel. Let's get it on, let's get it on, let's get it on, everybody. Oh, one more thing, the show is interactive. All right, so if you're watching me live right now, if you got a question or a comment, I would love to hear from you. So jump in my chat room. Let me know what's on your mind. Every monologue is fire. Yeah, but last night was, if you saw Wednesday night's show and you thought that Wednesday night's episode monologue was epic, oh yeah, put your seatbelt on. You better buckle in. If you're at home, go ahead and pop some popcorn, sit down, because it's about to pop off, as somebody said, this rapper said back in the day. So I want to start off. I want to go back to where I started about a minute ago. I want to remind everybody, Friday, May 1st, 19 days before my birthday, is May Day. So nationwide, there's a call to send a message to this regime that has spent $50 billion in this foolish war that has no end in sight, that is asking for $1.5 trillion, with a T, trillion dollars to keep this bullshit going. The same people that have tripled and quadrupled people who have health care through the Affordable Care Act or Obamacare, whose premiums tripled or more, went from $200 a month to $1,000 a month or more. In a lot of cases, some folks had premiums that went from $300-400 to $1,500 or $1,200. Just outrageous. Not to mention the same regime that wants to cut your mom and your grandparents, your dad, grandfathers, family member, your aunt or uncles, who wants to cut their Medicaid, or cut their Medicare and Medicaid. 40% of the people, 40% of America's children, 40% of the children in America that receive some type of health care, They get it through Medicaid. And they want to get rid of Medicare, Social Security. Now, Medicare, people pay for that. That FICA, you get paid tomorrow. And FICA, if you see FICA on your check, that's your money they're taking out for your Social Security and your Medicare. But we don't have money for Medicare, Medicaid. We don't have money for those programs, and we don't have money for child care to support families with affordable child care or daycare. But we can give Elon Musk companies $7 million a day in a gift, corporate welfare for his companies. Tax break, that's what they call it. Well, how about giving the American people a tax break? I digress. So Friday, we're sending a message: no work, no school, no shopping. So if you got to go get some groceries, buy some gas, do it today, do it tonight, this afternoon out on the West Coast, but do it before midnight, because we have to send a message. The way to get people's attention with money and power is to dig in them pockets. That is the only thing they understand. That is the only thing they respect. That is what they worship. They worship money and power. And if you dig in them pockets deep enough, you will get their attention. Because you start messing with that money, that will affect the power also. Speaking of power, let me segue to the students of South Carolina State University, the seniors especially. But shout out to all the students. I'm so proud of you. You showed up for yourselves. But more important, you showed up for each other, and you showed the rest of us what happens when we stand up for each other, when we stand up for ourselves, when we show up and show out and stand up and we lift our voices and we understand that we have agency, we have power. When you speak up for yourself and when you speak up for your brothers and sisters who may not have a voice or who may not be able to articulate to speak for themselves, they may not understand that they have a voice and they have agency and power because people told them that they didn't have a voice and people didn't see them or hear them, didn't see their brilliance and their greatness and their talent and their potential. They didn't even see them as humans. But the students in South Carolina State and the seniors, the graduating class of 2026, whose commencement is next Friday night, they was like, no, what we're not going to do, yes, Mr. President, because I'm trying to get a lot out here, even though there's no need for me to rush. It's my show. I can take as much time as I want. President Conyers, President Alexander Conyers of South Carolina State University. Bruh, like I've told everybody before, all skin folk ain't kinfolk. Come on, say it with me. All skin folk ain't kinfolk. Clarence Thomas, Tim Scott, President Conyers, South Carolina State University, a historically black college university, historically black, well, it's part of the college, historically black colleges and university universe. Now I know it's a land, what they call land grant. It's a publicly owned HBCU. And yes, they get funds from the state. But the state's not doing South Carolina State University as a favor with just to repair all the damage. This is a state that was the first to succeed from the nation. You talk about Jim Crow and the racism and the bigotry and the misogyny and sexism is still prevalent and virulent today in this state and across America. So South Carolina is not alone. But yes, South Carolina has their own unique version of racism and bigotry and misogyny and sexism and patriarchy. Yes. This not, like I said, but now they're right in par with the nation. Fit right in with the MAGA racist mentality, the MAGA cult. Because you do have a significant number of the MAGA cult members in political power here. But the students of South Carolina State University said, hold on, partner. We have a voice. We've got the power. We are the students. without the students and the tuition that our parents and grandparents and aunts and uncles and whatever grants or loans that we use, that money is benefiting this university. So without us, there is no university. President Conyers. So I don't know if somebody cut you a check. I heard it on the grapevine, the word on the streets, the buzz in the barbershop and the barbershops is that, you are down with the MAGA cult. Get back on camera. And I don't care what your political ideology is, President Conyers, but the fact that you would allow the Lieutenant Governor, Ms. Pamela Yvette, who's running to be the governor of South Carolina, who is trailing, she's getting the brakes beat off her in the polls. She's like in third or fourth place. So I guess she said, I need to do something to get some attention. And Pamela Yvette, Lieutenant Governor, did invite herself. So somebody at South Carolina State, I'm going to say it again, I'm going to say it for the folks in the back, somebody at South Carolina University, somebody invited her. She didn't just invite herself, I guarantee you. No. Why would she invite herself to a historically black college or university? She has never been on the record publicly of supporting any HBCU here in the state of South Carolina, and we got about 9 of them. So she has no public record of supporting HBCUs. As a matter of fact, what she had to say about college campuses, she said she is ending radical DEI scams. But the thing that really set me off is when she called the students at South Carolina State University, she called them a mob, a woke mob, for exercising their First Amendment right, for speaking up for themselves, for doing exactly what we teach our young people to do. Do you have a voice to be involved, to be concerned about your future, to be concerned about your neighbors and your country, to speak up, to hold truth, hold power. They say truth to power. They did all that. And because she was in her feelings and she didn't like it, she called these young people a woke mob and said that she couldn't wait. She was going to be ending, her words, quote, ending radical DEI scams. So having diversity, which doesn't just benefit black children, it benefits white women too. And it benefits poor white kids. Equity and inclusion. Being a woman, even though you are a white woman in your proximity to power, yes, Miss Yvette, I forgot her name, who has Polish origins. Her roots are in Poland. So do you think these billionaires really cared about these Eastern European countries? And a lot of these Eastern European immigrants, they look down upon your ancestors. But you bought into the bigotry and you want the power. You want access to the power, Lieutenant Governor Pamela Yvette. So you join the racist and a woman, you join the sexist, misogynist MAGA cult with your cult leader who bragged on video that he could get away with sexual assault. You can grab him by the pussycat and they'll let you get away with it. And you support this man who bragged openly about being able to sexually assault women and get away with it, whose name shows up in the Epstein files more than anybody, who at bare minimum protecting pedophiles and instructed his Justice Department to protect pedophiles. And you, Pamela Yvette, you called those young black students, those brilliant, strong, courageous, intelligent, morally grounded young men and young women, young African American students, you called those kids A woke mob. You need to wake up. But the insurrectionists, the criminals that tried to violently overthrow the government on January 6th of 2021, who showed up to hang Mike Pence with a gallows and hangman's noose, you call those criminals, those violent thugs, criminals that was part of the MAGA cult, you called them patriots. But you called these students who just wanted to exercise their First Amendment rights and didn't want you to speak to them because they felt that you had nothing. You were supporting the most racist, sexist, bigoted, non-inclusive policies, supporting this MAGA cult. You proudly 10 toes down. You went on video. You videotaped yourself calling these kids a mob, a woke mob, and then tried to allude, well, you know, if they're complaining and if violence breaks out, there was no threat of violence. Which brings me back to the president of South Carolina State University. That statement you released out of abundance of caution and fear of, you used that same word. President Conyers, listen, man, either you're part of the solution or part of the problem. Now listen, if you want to worship your orange lord and master, Orange Hitler, AKA Donald J. Trump, the J stands for jackass, if you embrace this, if you want to lean into what level of anti-blackness and bigotry that you may have, all skin folk and kinfolk, yes, some of the most anti-black people in America are not many, not most, but enough, a handful of black people who buy into the bullshit, who for their own selfish reasons or brainwashed reasons feel that if they just, yes, master, and look at me tap dance for you, master, and yes, master, we's be sick. No, they don't give a shit about you, President Conyers. So you and your family, you're doing well, you're living in nice housing, but you are able to do that not because of these racist, bigoted MAGA cult members that may be sliding you some money or cutting you a check. They don't respect you. They don't respect any of these black people who parrot and champion these anti-black tropes, this anti-blackness. Say all the racist things. Well, now a lot of them, they're not afraid to say the racist things, but it's great when you can have a black face to say the real racist shit that some of them still don't really want to say publicly. So we can get a black person to repeat these racist, bigoted tropes about black people and use these buzzwords, violence. Come on. President Conyers, I never met you, but I would hope that you're better than that. But I have to judge you on your actions and your behavior. But Pamela Vet, let me explain something to you again. You call the students of South Carolina a woke mob. You called the January 6th insurrectionists, the January 6th criminals, convicts who were pardoned, who were convicted and locked up and let out of jail by Orange Hitler. You called the January 6th insurrectionists, the violent thugs that violently tried to overthrow this federal government on January 6, 2021. You called them patriots, but you called those black kids at South Carolina State University a woke mob because they didn't agree with the policies that you represent and that you stand for, wanting to get rid of any type of diversity and equity and inclusion. So you don't want blacks to have equal opportunities. You don't want them to have fair housing. You pissed off about the Voting Rights Act. You're happy with what the Supreme Court did. You don't feel black people should have a voice. You don't feel black people should vote. You don't feel that black people should be you don't see them as equal to white people. You feel they should be subservient, that they should be paid less, that they should have less opportunities in the workforce, less opportunities to be entrepreneurs or business people. Their education should be inferior, and that we should only teach the history that shows white people, which is some made up bullshit. Whiteness was made up by Europeans who only called themselves white, came up with this to trick and fool you all, poor and working class Europeans that they call peasants because they didn't give a shit about you all, so they had to figure out somebody else to be pissed. Let's find somebody else with these peasants to be pissed off about, because we elite Europeans don't give a shit about these peasants or poor white Europeans or poor Europeans. So let's come up with this construct, whiteness, because whiteness is just not about race. It's an ideology, hence white nationalism, white Christian nationalism. It's an ideology and a power structure rooted in patriarchy, which says only in America, Christian white males should have all the power, all the influence, dictate all the rules. That white Christian men should decide how everybody else should be living, and they should be allowed with impunity to do and say whatever they want to do and never be held accountable. They should be able to be pedophiles, to inside trade and to cheat people out of money and lie, cheat, and steal, do whatever, and to be as violent as they want to. Because that's, in essence, that's exactly what the Jim Crow era was. Jim Crow was a name for a form of government, but it was a power structure. It was rooted in this idea of whiteness, where whiteness was right, and white men, they ruled the world. And it wasn't about what they call meritocracy, that you had the merit. The only merit was if you were white. Once again, some made up bullshit, because if you understood your history, many of your white ancestors weren't considered white when they came here from Germany, when they the European Jews, or the Eastern Europe, the immigrants from Eastern Europe, the Eastern European immigrants. So those that came from Germany, came from Poland. Pamela Vet, yep, your ancestors too. Yes, your ancestors too. That came from Ireland, that came from Italy, came from Scotland. They were looked down upon. They were the N-words. They had anti-immigration laws to keep Germans and the Irish and Italians and the Chinese out of America in the 1800s. So you weren't considered white, but eventually they said, well, we need more white folks because look at all these black people. So we got to balance this out, because, oh my God, if the black people ever outnumber us whites, especially us whites with power, shit, we'll be in trouble. And the sad part is that if black people, if our ancestors, if the ancestors and those of us here in America of African descent and African history, if black people historically in America, if we want a revenge, there would be no America. Our ancestors would have burned this bitch down 100 years ago. White people, let me explain something to you. Black people really just want to be left alone. But you're not going to take advantage of us. You're not going to harm us anymore. You're not going to burn down our towns and cities and neighborhoods and communities and businesses. That's not going to happen. It's not. Because if you attempt that, there are going to be consequences. That's just not going to happen. All right? That's what your ancestors did. Wilmington, North Carolina. The majority of the people who had political power were African Americans, along with, you had some whites that were not part of the Klan and races. And the races, whites in Wilmington, North Carolina, got about 2,000 people together, and they literally killed, just flat out murdered hundreds of black men and women, and took control of the city. That was the one successful political coup in this country's history. Wilmington, North Carolina. You can do your own research. Y'all got enough AI out there. Or how about read a book? How about the Wilmington Race Massacre, the late 1800s? Wilmington, North Carolina, which is about 3 or 4 hours from where I'm standing right now. But to Pamela Yvette, this caping for this MAGA, racist, sexist, MAGA political agenda, you do know that these MAGA cult members, these racist MAGA men, they're very misogynist too, Pamela Yvette, and they really don't like women, even white women. They don't like you. Yeah, when they want to have sex, they want to have sex with you. They want to hit it, but then they want to hit it and quit it, and they want your ass to be barefoot, pregnant, at home, in the kitchen, cooking, cleaning, sewing, and shutting the hell up. That's exactly what they want. And if you don't believe me, just listen to some of the many podcasters and those on social media that's part of this manosphere and the red pill community. Yeah, listen to some of those MAGA cult members that are men, racist and misogynists. They don't want to be bothered with you. That's why you are trailing in the polls in South Carolina. They don't like you. They don't want to F with you. Not at all. They'll tolerate you. You're not their first choice. You're not their second choice. You're not their third choice. And in many cases, you're not their choice at all. So in the meantime, you have bought into the bigotry and the hatred and the policies that are harmful and detrimental. Hundreds of thousands of black people, they've had their jobs taken away from them just because they were black. Some of the most talented, qualified, especially in the federal government. Been in the federal government for decades with decades of institutional knowledge, knowing how to run shit and make it work, and you just got rid of them because they were not part of the cult and that they would not sign an oath to worship your orange lord and master, Orange Hitler. So you keep standing on that racist business of yours and talking about DEI, radical DEI is a scam, because people, they don't want to be discriminated against. They don't want to be discriminated against in buying a house, trying to get a home loan, a home insurance, or buying a car, in healthcare, in employment, or getting a loan, a business loan. They don't want to be discriminated against in education, medicine, or law, in finance. They want the full truth of America to be taught. Not the lies, all of it. Teach the history. Teach the history of the massacre in Wilmington, North Carolina, in Rosewood, Florida, and all the race massacres of the Red Summer. Of course, we know about Tulsa, Oklahoma, but from Memphis and Chicago and Boston, all kind of race massacres a little over 100 years ago. But black folks are not going to tolerate that nonsense. That's not going to happen. So now you have some lawmakers here in the state of South Carolina that have signed a letter to say, well, the state of South Carolina should defund South Carolina State University if they don't want anyone, or it'll allow everybody to speak there. And if you don't want somebody to speak there because she's white, those students never said the word white. They didn't say that they didn't want her to speak, to be their commencement speaker because she was white. They didn't want her to be their commencement speaker because of the policies that she stood for, the policies that she openly, verbally, on camera, the fact that she called those young people a woke mob, and that she said the DEI was a scam. And the scam is the people who have taken the phrase DEI, diversity, equity, and inclusion, and just use that as like a cover to be racist Anti-DEI means they are anti-black, they are anti-black progress, they are anti-black success, they are anti-black equality. That's what that means. Anti-DEI means that anti-black period, that we don't like you Negroes, and if we could, we would go back to Jim Crow so we could enslave your ass and have you working for free and be able to rape your women and some men with impunity and basically legislate, take away all of your human rights. That's where we start, your voting rights, your civil rights, fair housing, to where you're not human again, that you are considered property, like a car or a horse or chicken or pigs or whatever other kind of animals that they have on a farm or a tractor. You're not human, you're property. That was codified in law. And then we had Jim Crow laws after the Civil War, and the Jim Crow laws basically allowed racism and violence against black people to go unfettered, to go without being penalized, without being held accountable. So I'm going to close with some numbers. I'm just going to focus, since I'm in South Carolina, I want to focus on South Carolina. You got, I think total population about, 4 million? So you got about 3.3 million registered voters. About 2.4 million registered voters are white. Now, keep in mind, about 63% of the population is white. 27, and that's probably undercounting because we always undercount because many of us don't report the census. So technically, South Carolina, about a third of the state, that number is probably closer to 30%, is black. About 1.3 million people are black in the state of South Carolina. 2.4 million registered voters. Now, out of the 1.3 million black people, 800,000 are registered to vote. So that's a half a million not registered. Now you got to factor in their kids and babies, but still, 500,000. You got 1.3 million black people in South Carolina. You got 800,000 black voters. Now 2024, the voter turnout for white people was 71%. 71% of the people that voted in South Carolina were white. 24%, the black voter turnout in South Carolina was 24%. 24% of the voters that voted in South Carolina were black. We're not even voting on numbers. If we make up just imagine if we made up about a third of the population, but if we voted at 71 or 75%, we could change this shit. And all these racists and bigots and sexists and misogynists, they know that. That's why they're doing everything they can. Gerrymander. Gerrymander is a fancy name for basically saying we got to go ahead and rig these districts, and we have to draw the boundaries to where the black people that live in that state will have no political power. And actually, it was some guy named Jerry. They named it after because it was his idea. We got to, let's change the way we draw the boundaries. If there's a lot of black folks living in this one area, we got to cut that area up and then put those areas with some white areas, so there'll be more white people in those districts than black people, so the black people won't have political power or representation. That's exactly what gerrymandering is. Or you gerrymander. That's what that means. We got the power, not just in South Carolina, all throughout the South, all across America. If we just show up, if we show up for ourselves, to go back to the beginning of the show, if we just show up for each other, if we show up for ourselves. Okay, be selfish. Don't show up for your family, your friends. Show up for your damn self. Oh man, I don't vote. I don't do politics. Well, guess what? Politics does your ass. See how we got here? Politics, for all you contrarians. They had a whole lot, you had a whole lot of smoke for Joe Biden. You had a whole lot of smoke for Kamala Harris and blah, 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 blah. And she's this, she married to a white man and you know, Genocide Joe. Even though she clearly stated that she did not support that racist ass Bibi Netanyahu. She said she supported the people of Israel, but she did not support that government. And she made it clear. But you all didn't hear that. And you all thought somehow that she could somehow just, the vice president, she could just tell her boss, well, you need to stop doing this or stop sending money. When America's been sending money to Israel since the state of Israel was created by the United States and England and France back in 1947, 48. Because the state of Israel almost wound up, there was a choice between the land that was called Palestine, that is now called the state of Israel. Well, Uganda, that's right, Uganda, like the Uganda on the continent of Africa, the country of Uganda almost became the state of Israel. Yeah, do that AI search or read some books. So the American government, throughout administrations have been, Israel gets $6.8 billion a year from the United States. And the people of Israel get free health care. And we give them $6.8 billion, but we can't get free health care in our own country. Saudi Arabia gets $5.2 billion a year. Saudi Arabia is one of the richest countries on the planet. What the hell? Why do they need $5.2 billion of your money and my money? Israel is a wealthy nation. Why do they need nearly $7 billion of our money? In the meantime, people are paying $6, $7 for premium gas around America. Even in the South, heck, regular gas, the average price of gas today is $4.30. If you have to get premium, you are paying $5. And for the truckers, especially you independent truckers, or anybody that's got a trucking business, or if you got a diesel car, God bless you, because you're paying $6. You're paying well over $5. On average, you're paying about $6 a gallon, which is causing the price of groceries to go up. That means jet fuel. I don't even want to think about it. And for folks that's got boats, woo, I know my late dad used to have a boat. I know how much the gas for those boats are. And jet fuel, these prices, buying a plane ticket, you can thank your orange Lord and Savior, your orange Lord and Master, Donald J. Jackass Trump, a.k.a. Orange Hitler, and his racist twin, Prime Minister Bibi Netanyahu of Israel, the MAGA twins. So shout out to South Carolina State University students. And for those legislators, those politicians in the state of South Carolina who signed this letter to defund South Carolina State University, we're going to defund your ass right out of the State House. Because each one of you all, you've got somebody running against you. So I'm going to make sure I will do everything in my power and use this platform and my voice to make sure that your ass will be defunded politically. You can find another job or keep the one you got. Because you want to defund South Carolina State University because they didn't want to allow a person who said that DEI was a scam and that called those young people a mob because her policies that she advocates, this MAGA cult and the MAGA cult policies, the inhumanity, the racism, the bigotry, the anti-Semitism, the anti-Islamic hate, the anti-immigrant, anti-Hispanic, anti-Latino, the sexist, misogynist, homophobic, patriotic platform of MAGA, they didn't support that. They don't believe in that. They don't share those values. They have values. They don't share that bigotry and hatred. So they stood on moral principles, and their morals have nothing in common with the lack of morality and compassion and empathy and the lack of humanity, the inhumanity, hatred, bigotry, and violence of this MAGA cult ideology and power structure that Pamela Avett so proudly, with her full chest, 10 toes down, stands on top of and brags about. Yes, I'm the Trump agenda, and I'm proud of it, and yes, I can't wait. I got some more to say on it. You wait till I tell you I'm going to be ending all this radical DEI scams, all these radical DEI scams taught on college campuses. So go ahead and F around and find out. Talking about defunding South Carolina State University. We'll defund you politically. Now it is time, black folks, in even larger numbers, we got to show up for ourselves. And to all the contrarians that have been on TV and podcasts and on social medias, you got a lot of smoke. You had a lot of smoke for Joe Biden, a lot of smoke for Kamala Harris. You got a lot of smoke for black people, what we aren't doing. And yeah, we could do better. We could do better by each other. Absolutely. Yes, we can do better supporting each other. But what are you doing? Some of these same folks that's got a lot of smoke ain't got shit to say. Are you afraid of Orange Hitler? Because if you about this life of justice, if you really are about black people, if you really are about not just black people, but if you are about humanity, and if you are against bigotry and hatred and misogyny and racism and division in all of its forms, if you are really against that, then you need to have a whole lot of smoke for this regime. This got his own private police force, his own private military, ICE agents shooting white people down in the middle of the street in broad daylight, showing you that they don't give a shit about white people either. That this whiteness, that this construct and this power structure, the title, the whole ideology is a con. They don't give a shit about you not having melanin. You're white. They don't care about you calling yourself white. If you don't have money, if you're not a billionaire, they don't give a shit about you. And you know how you should know? Because look at the price of gas and look at the price of your health insurance, especially if you had the Affordable Care Act. And when's the last time you had a raise? Can you even form a union on your job? And why is Elon Musk and his company's getting $7 million a day? But you can't get a raise. Veterans, they're talking about cutting veterans' money, changing the equation in terms of your disability. Why are they making it harder? They claim they love we love the military. Oh, we're the most powerful military. You don't love the military. That's bullshit, because you're doing everything you can. These billionaires who really propped up this cult, and Orange Hitler's just a figurehead, but it's the racists around him like Stephen Miller and Russell Vought and Kevin Roberts. These real racist ideologies that's bought into this white Christian nationalism that feel that white men should be superior just because your ass don't have no melanin and a little dick. Do you think that's qualifies you to be superior? I said it and I meant it. And you have some black people, significant number of Hispanics, you all buy into the bigotry. And you think that somehow that bigotry, how did that work out for a lot of the Hispanic brothers and sisters that got snatched up day one? Day one got snatched up. Was running around Miami talking about, oh yeah, Cubans and Venezuelans, we voted for Donald Trump. And literally, while you were running around with signs talking about, oh, celebrating, I voted for Trump, they were snatching your ass up and deporting your ass. They don't care. This whole construct of, it was a con. It's a con all along. It was created to divide people. Whiteness is an ideology. It's really a power structure. And it was created to divide the masses so very few people could maintain and could grow their social, economic, and political power. Thank you for letting me be a part of your life. As always, God bless each and every one of you, and you, especially you, God, most of all. Thank you for letting me do the Gino Jones Show live, Monday through Friday, 7:30 p.m. Eastern, 6:30 Central Time, 4:30 p.m. on the West Coast. Don't forget the show is interactive, so if you got a comment, you can always get in my chat room. Now, if you didn't get a chance to jump in the chat room, please leave your comments in the comment section below. No live show on Friday, May 1st. Don't forget, Friday, May Day, no work, no school, no shopping. No work, no school, no shopping. Send a message to these racist billionaires and this racist, sexist, misogynist regime. Dig in their pockets. The way to get people's attention with money and power is to dig in them pockets. Dig so deep that you punch a hole in them damn pockets. Your arm go all the way down to the kneecap. No work, no school, no shopping on Friday. Stand up for each other. Stand up for yourself. Shout out to the South Carolina State University students and the seniors. Showed us the way. They stood up for themselves. They stood up for each other. They showed up for each other. They showed up for themselves. They lifted their voices and they stood on business. And the business they stood on was the business of morality. They stood on solid ground because they stood on moral principles of seeing our humanity, seeing us as humans with a brain and a voice, refusing to be silenced, understanding that they have a God-given right to be heard, to be seen, for their voices to be heard, for their beliefs to be respected, and not to have people who openly and blatantly support policies that are anti their existence as humans to come and stand in front of them, to lie to them and spread some bullshit for 30, 45 minutes, however long the commencement speech would have been, then to turn around and to have policies to allow to convict a teenage or pre-teenage girl that's a victim of rape or incest. This is the same state that wants to pass a law that will make it illegal if a child or preteen terminates a pregnancy that's a victim of rape or incest. They don't give a damn about the rapist, but that child that's a victim of rape or incest, if she terminates the pregnancy, they want to pass a law where you would charge the child with murder for being a victim of rape or incest. That should tell you everything you need to know about the majority of these lawmakers here in the state of South Carolina. And South Carolina is not the only state. All these southern states have laws on the books that have already been either passed and signed into law, or they're trying to get through their state legislator. And if they had their way, they would have a federal law to where they would criminalize. It's so funny that you got all these old men who can't even get hard no more, deciding what women should do with their bodies. Because you mad because your sex life is done, so you want to tell these young women what to do with their bodies? And miss me with the sanctity of life. If you believe in the sanctity of life, then you would make sure that there would be money to fund research to find out and to eliminate the health disparity for black women. Because black women die 3 times the rate of white women childbirth and before the baby's born. The maternal mortality rate, for black women in America is 3 times higher than it is for white women. So if you are all about the sanctity of life, then you should make sure that this federal government is doing everything they can in terms of making sure there's money to end that disparity. So miss me with the sanctity of life bullshit. If you were so concerned about the sanctity of life, you would make sure that health care would be affordable. And then many of these, but you want to cut Medicaid, and half of the people on Medicaid are children in America. So you don't give a shit about the sanctity of life. You want to control women, and you want to make sure they're having as many babies because you're panicking that, oh my God, it's going to be more minorities. It's going to be more blacks and the Latinos and the Mexicans and the Muslims and the Native Americans and the white women is, marrying the black ball players and having babies and all that. Y'all are screwed up in the head, spooked. All right. Have a great weekend, everybody. I'll see you live Monday. Shout out to Allie Jones, the official wardrobe consultant and stylist for the Gino Jones Show. Check her and her Lexi Jones collection out on Instagram, lx.ncl_. lx.ncl_. Markel Bailey, the official barber and hairstylist for the Gino Jones Show. You can check him out on IG, on Instagram. Kel be cutting up, KELBECUTTINUP. INUS, KELBECUTTINUP. Please leave your comments in the comment section below. Yes. See that? Comments? I love to hear from you. Yeah, you too, MAGA cult. Miss Pamela Vett, feel free. Leave your comment in the comment section. For all you lawmakers that want to defund South Carolina State University, feel free. Back on the south side of Chicago, they used to say, if you feel froggish, take a leap. Leap. Go ahead. All right, everybody. I love you. Love is a verb. Love is an action word. Show your love. Once again, have a great weekend. Binge watch all my back episodes. Make it a Gino Jones Show binge watch weekend. Please support my media company. You can do that. I'd love to have you as a sponsor. You want to advertise here? Shoot me an email. That's how you spell my name. Gino Jones Show, all one word, at Gmail. Gino Jones Show at Gmail. I'll shoot you an email. I'll give you all the information, everything you need to know on how you can be a sponsor. Or if you've got some campaign ads, you want to run your campaign ad on my show right here, on my YouTube channel, you can do that. If you want to support the show financially also, individually, you can do that. No amount is too small or too large. You can do it via Zelle or Cash App. Now, to Zelle your financial support, use my Gmail again, once again, there it is right there. That's how you spell Gino. Right there, you see it? Gino Jones Show. Gino Jones Show at gmail.com. Gino Jones Show at gmail.com. Now, you can Cash App also. $Dad G Jones. $capital D, lowercase a-d, capital G-J, lowercase O-N-E-S. That's $Dad G Jones, all one word, on Cash App. Thanks, everybody. We'll see you live. Well, I know you'll see me because you'll be binge watching all my back episodes, my monologues from this week, this month, this year, and for the last 5.5 years, right here. Tell everybody to like, share, and subscribe to the Gino Jones Show YouTube channel. I love you. I'll holler.
Subscribe and tune in to the next episode of the Gino Jones Show, exclusively right here on YouTube.